While he was a student at Georgetown University, future writer William Peter Blatty saw an August 1949 article in the Washington Post, Priest Frees Mount Rainier Boy Reported Held in Devil's Grip by Bill Brinkley. He stopped to read the article on what we now call the Exorcist stairs, the same stairs seen in the film, The Exorcist. In mid-1949, several local newspapers in Washington and Maryland had published anonymous reports, probably written by the family's pastor, Luther Miles Scholes, of possession and exorcism happening in Prince George County in Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C. The feature in the Washington Post was a more detailed account of the exorcism that was performed on a 14-year-old boy from Cottage City, Maryland named Roland Hunkler. According to the story, the boy's family started hearing strange rapping and scratching noises from his bedroom walls, objects would fly across the room, and his bed moved while he was asleep. The boy's mother, somewhat of a hysteric, had convinced herself that all of these things were the work of her recently deceased aunt, Matilda Hendricks, who was a spiritualist and had taught the boy, Ronald, how to communicate with spirits through a Ouija board. She sought the help of a Protestant minister, but when he proved ineffective, she turned to the Jesuit communities of Washington, D.C., and St. Louis. A priest and a lay scholar in church history visited Roland, where they allegedly saw a shaking bed, flying objects, and the boy speaking in a guttural voice and exhibiting an aversion to anything sacred. Based on that report, the local archbishop granted permission for an exorcism. However, the Jesuits insisted that before they became involved that they wanted the boy subjected to medical and psychiatric examinations, all of which failed to find anything abnormal that might explain the allegedly paranormal phenomena. The Jesuits assigned Father William Bowdern to perform an exorcism. He would conduct 20 exorcisms in his career on March 9, 1949. Assisting him was Father Bowdern, Father Walter, Father Raymond Bishop, who would later publish his 29-page diary of the incident. The last member of the team was Father Walter Halloran. Halloran was 26 years old when he received the assignment. He was then, and remained, the most skeptical member of the exorcist team, doubting that Roland was possessed. Halloran was a Minnesotan, the oldest of 9 children. A high school and college football star, he was ordained in 1956. A volunteer chaplain in the United States Army, he received paratrooper training and took duty in Vietnam where, he said later, he saw more evil in a day than in the entire Roland Hunkler exorcism case. Halloran was awarded 2 Bronze Stars for heroism while under fire. When asked by a church historian in an interview on whether the boy had been possessed, Halloran said, "No, I can't go on record. I never made an absolute statement about the things because I didn't feel I was qualified." However, friends recalled that he expressed his skepticism about potential paranormal events before his death. Almost all of the exorcisms were conducted at Jesuit-owned Georgetown University Hospital. During the exorcism, because of his wild behavior, Roland was bound in restraints, which he slipped out of and used, broke a bed spring from under the mattress, and used it to slash one of the priest's arms. According to Father Halloran, during the exorcism, various marks appeared on Roland's limbs. Another priest reported that during the Litany of the Saints, Roland's mattress began to shake and that at a later point, Roland broke Halloran's nose. But Halloran never heard the boy's voice change, and, although he was thought to have the ability to suddenly speak Latin, Halloran noted that Roland was merely mimicking Latin words he heard the clergyman say during prayers. As to the odd marks found on the boy's body, Halloran later made a point that he failed to check the boy's fingernails to see if he had made the marks himself. Author Mark Opsasnik, who did an extensive study of the case, including interviews with Roland's neighbors and friends, concluded that the boy had been a very clever trickster, who had pulled pranks to frighten his mother and to fool children in the neighborhood, and suggested that Roland was simply a spoiled, disturbed bully who threw deliberate tantrums to get attention or to get out of school. Furthermore, almost all of the commonly accepted information about this story is based on hearsay, is not documented, and was never fact-checked. Opsasnik also questioned the story of Hugh's attempts to exorcise the boy and his subsequent injury, saying he could find no evidence that such an episode had actually occurred. In fact, most of the symptoms of possession were childishly simple to fake. Another serious investigation into the case by author Thomas B. Allen wrote that the consensus of today's experts that Robbie was just a deeply disturbed boy, nothing supernatural about him. The medical community seemed to agree. A psychiatric team that reviewed the case stated that Roland more than likely suffered from mental illness. And those involved, meaning the priests in the exorcism, saw what they were trained to see. Each purported to look at the facts, but just the opposite was true. In actuality, they manipulated the facts and emphasized information that fit their own agendas. Another psychiatrist who reviewed the case wrote, "Nothing that was reliably reported in the case was beyond the abilities of a teenager to produce." The tantrums, trances, moved furniture, hurled objects, automatic writing, superficial scratches, and other phenomena were just the kinds of things someone of Roland's age could accomplish, just as others have done before and since. Indeed, the elements of poltergeist phenomena suggest nothing so much as role-playing involving trickery. The doctor also dismissed stories of the boy's prodigious strength, saying he showed nothing more than what could be summoned by an agitated teenager, and criticized popular accounts of the exorcism for what he termed a stereotypical storybook portrayal of the devil. Father Halloran died in 2005 and was the last of the Exorcist team to survive. Ronald Hunkler died on May 10, 2020. According to Father Halloran, Ronald Hunkler went on to lead a rather ordinary